Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday once again, and welcome back to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host for the next 3 hours, Jean-Paul Yovanoff. Thank you, everybody, for coming back. We have a lovely person in the studio with us today. I've worked with them for a year now. At the theater company, Vanier College Productions here in Toronto, Canada, at York University. I'd like to introduce you all to Danny Sylvan.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome.
Here.
Thank you, Danny, for coming out and talking to us today. Cool. So, Danny, the first thing I always get everybody to do is give me your 30-second bio. Now, you know Stefan. He was on the first show.
I do.
His 30-second bio was literally half the show. As you know, Stefan likes to talk. Hi, Stefan. So give us your 30-second bio.
Oh, I'm going to try not to do the whole show, but okay. I'll try to keep it within 30 seconds. So I am a theater major at York University for theater and performance. The thing that I chose to specifically focus on in my studies is playwriting and new play dramaturgy. And that's been really exciting. Other than that, I am 24, turning 25 soon. I'm hopefully, fingers crossed with no strike, graduating in October of this year.
If you don't know, people out there, York University has gone on strike at least 5 times in the last 7 years or something ridiculous.
At least, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's why last year the strike went on for what, a year?
It was like 7-8 months. Like it was a long time, and it really screwed me over academically. So yeah, thanks, York. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be graduating in October. And then other than that, I'm hoping to kind of see what's out there as far in the theater world, specifically in Toronto, and branch out from there. Right now, I am not living in the city, but I'm hoping to live in the city very soon. And that's all I can think about.
No, that's good. We have 3 hours to fill, so you don't have to tell us everything about you right now.
This is very true.
So let's throw through a song. I gave Danny a list of songs to choose from. Do you want to announce this one?
Absolutely, yes. This song is pretty special to me because it's a role that I did in the senior year of my high school production of Hairspray, where I played a seaweed. So without further ado, have fun listening to Run and Tell That from Hairspray.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Welcome back to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. You just heard Brotherhood of Men from How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. One of the songs Danny chose. Thank you, Danny. So, Danny, what got you into musical theater? What got you interested?
Well, what got me in, I'll start actually with what got me into theater to begin with. I was in high school, and I always had an interest in the arts, but I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do within the arts. I was thinking maybe acting on for film or TV type of thing, but I was also pretty young, so I was trying to figure that out. And I remember I took grade 9 drama class, and my grade 9 drama teacher, Mr. Dickinson, shout out to Mr. Dickinson, he actually was the one who, when that class had finished, encouraged me to stay within theater. He said, this is something for you, this is your calling in a sense, so please stick with theater. So I did, and the way that musical theater got into it is that I figured that I could sing, but I wasn't sure if I was good, you know? Mm-hmm. And I remember I was in my 3rd year of high school, so grade 11, and my vocal teacher, who was also the musical theater teacher, Miss Parker, she was the one who, there was an assignment or like a group kind of presentation, kind of breaking the ice at the start of the semester for musical theater. And I remember there was like a solo in this little performance that my group did that I had. And like, as soon as I did it, everyone lit up and everyone was like, Danny, that was so good. And I was like, I did not know that was going to be the response at all. So she said, yeah, you have to stay in theater, stay in musical theater and venture that a little bit. So that's what definitely got me interested in musical theater. And being a part of a great musical productions like such as Hairspray in high school and then into my university years, that's kind of what got me into it. I've always had a love for it, and basically when it started there, it's just been like that ever since.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about going to a musical theater specific school like Sheridan or Randolph or anything like that?
I did. I knew that I kind of, and this is actually an interesting conversation because I knew that I wanted to go to a university because I would be the first person within my family to go to a university for post-secondary. So I knew I wanted to go to a university and study theater and musical theater, possibly, like a Sheridan program, but I wanted it to be at a university. In hindsight, I would actually, and I caution anybody who might be listening who wants to go into theater, musical theater, post-secondary, college is where it's at, from what I understand. It's a lot more hands-on. And it's not as much theory and lecture. It's definitely more studio. And if you're looking to do acting specifically, I would say that a college is more the route to go. If you're looking to do production, then I would say, yeah, something like York University is a great program to get into.
I totally agree. I went to Sheridan College, and yeah, it's you are in the theater or in the studio from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then shows and
right.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare for sleeping and things like that.
Of course.
But 3 years of just performing was fantastic.
Yeah. If I could go back, I would probably go to one of the colleges like a Sheridan or even George Brown, I know has a really good program for theater. And I would kind of venture into that. But I'm happy with all the things and connections that I've made here at York.
That's fantastic.
I can't deny that. Yeah.
Good. What type of musical theater do you like best? Are you a fan of the classics? Are you a fan of the new stuff?
You know, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. Like, I'm a fan of the new stuff as well. I'm a fan of the new stuff. The classics, I'm actually, don't throw tomatoes at me. I'm still kind of dipping my toe into, like Phantom of the Opera. Like, I'm like, this is a classic, but do I love it?
Man, do I feel old when you say that's a classic.
For me, it is JP. But even newer musicals like If Then, I saw that. I enjoyed it. And I don't know, it's a bit of a mixed bag of what at least I consider to be classic. And then what has definitely been in production in the last few years.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's listen to the song from If Then.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Just for you. So this is a song from If Then. You are listening to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on this Saturday. We are sitting in, actually, York University, where we found a neutral location to meet up with Danny Sylvan. Danny, thank you again for coming out.
It's a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So let's talk about shows you've been in.
Of course, yeah.
You've been in hundreds of shows, right?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands, obviously. He is that awesome.
Honestly, I don't even think I can count the amount of shows that I've had on both of my hands. Like, it hasn't been too many.
You know what the funny thing is? I can't either.
Wow.
I've never actually, it's surprising. I've only been in 5 musicals, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I counted it the other day and went, this is stupid.
Yeah.
What am I do I deserve to be in this?
Have you been in, like, production of any?
Oh, I've been part of productions,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Lots of those, but yeah. Actually, on stage, not too many.
Wow.
It's weird.
Okay.
But this isn't about me.
It's not. I always like to flip it around,
This is the Danny hour. So, Danny, tell us about some of the shows you've been in.
Absolutely. So some of the earliest shows that I were in were actually through my church, like the church that I go to. And every year we used to do Easter productions and like Christmas productions, but I would usually do the Easter ones. And Yeah, I think one of the earliest roles in those Easter productions that I got was a disciple. I was like 12, like, but it's like a musical production. They always like really good production value. They were a lot of fun to do. But then closer to like when I actually got into high school, I did Alice in Wonderland, which isn't technically a musical, but I did that. I did, what else did I do? I've done Hairspray, like I mentioned. There was this musical that actually my drama teacher had written.
Okay.
Or partially written. It was called Tragically. So at the time, Glee was a very popular theme. It was a thing back then. And he took 4 Shakespearean tragedies and added Glee songs to them with a Glee theme. It was actually fantastic. When he originally told us what this musical would be, we were thinking it was going to be like a mega musical. We were so excited. He was like, so I kind of put something together. It's called Tragically. And we were like, what do you mean? Like, what is this? It turned out to be really, really fun. And I played Hamlet in that one.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a really, really fun experience. Probably one of the best musical experiences I've had. Hairspray was stressful, but it was fun.
Why was it stressful?
You know,
you can't just leave it at that. You can't just. It was stressful.
Period.
Let's move on.
Like, no.
Wait a second. No.
So let me dive into that. It was stressful because, to be honest, I got the role of Seaweed, and I at the time did not believe that I could do it justice. To be completely honest, I was like, no. I was very excited to get the role. And then when we started jumping into rehearsals, I felt the pressure. I was like, oh God, like Seaweed's a pretty big character with a lot of personality. Seaweed's somebody who, you know, he's very like sly and slick. And I'm like, I wouldn't use those to describe me like at first. So yeah, it was difficult to kind of channel into that character. And I remember at one point, I'm pretty sure I went up to the musical director, and I was like, just give it to someone else. Like, I can't do this. Like, this is too much. And they were like, Danny, you're being ridiculous. Get back out there. So, yeah, that's what made it stressful. And also, it's interesting working in a production where you're considered one of the leads, because I find that a lot of times in that kind of position, it's the leads and then there's ensemble. And it's very difficult to, like with Tragically, it was very much of an ensemble experience. It was a collective. With Hairspray, I felt like a lot of us the leads would be rehearsing our scenes together. Ensemble would be over here. And then when we have a scene together, it's like, I'd love to feel the chemistry off of like the ensemble, but I'm not really feeling that. So it was an interesting experience overall. I did enjoy it overall, but there were definitely points where I was like, this is different and very stressful. Moving on into some of the later shows that I've done, I was in a production of your favorite musical, Rent.
Yeah.
You know what? It was an amazing musical. We had a great director. Shout out to Jeff. And that was a really, really fun experience as well.
Who'd you play?
I was ensemble, and then I was understudy for Angel.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was really fun. It was a great experience. It was actually at Vanier College Productions. So it was a great experience, and I had a lot of fun. The cast was amazing. And that was my first show with VCP.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else you've done?
I also did Clybourne Park with VCP.
Okay.
That's all that I can think of right now.
That's okay. That's not a problem. You know what? We're going to listen to some songs. We're going to listen to something from Hamilton.
Awesome.
Because after this, we're going to bring it up, because you brought up Hairspray and even Rent. We'll talk about some diversity questions and issues, because people don't know, but Danny led a night talk about diversity in theater and brought in directors and people like that. So when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about that, get your opinion, your thoughts on diversity, which is a good way to lead into Hamilton, because that's a really diverse show.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are listening to Be Our Guest. This is Danny Sylvan, and let's listen to some Hamilton. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Be Our Guest. It is Saturday. You are tuned in to Musical Theater Radio. What is Be Our Guest? Well, if you haven't been listening, we have someone come in, join us, co-host for the day, and tell us a little bit about themselves, their background, and we just chit-chat and talk. Today, we have in the studio Danny Sylvan.
Holla.
Hey, Danny. So, if in the last segment we talked about some of the shows you've been in, you said you were in Hairspray and Rent and things like that, and I brought up the fact that you ran a diversity panel here at York University, and I'd love to hear your opinions on things and how that went, and just. You might not be able to tell over the radio, but you are
a black man.
A black man. And as you can tell over the radio, you don't know what I am. Nobody knows.
It's a mystery.
Nobody knows. And I'm never going to tell you. But so Danny, tell us a little bit about how that went, some of the questions you asked and the responses.
Absolutely. We definitely, with this, at the start of this season at VCP, I kind of posed the question because I know VCP actually did a diversity in casting panel last season. So this season, I was asking if we were going to do something similar or the same thing. And the artistic director for this company said, yeah, we can absolutely do that. So it was pretty much my task to put it together. This time we didn't focus on casting and we opened it up to diversity in theater in general. So a lot of the questions were just kind of general questions for the panelists about what's going on in theater, specifically in Toronto and the GTA, but also just on a wide spectrum, some of the questions. The panelists that we had were Ryan Hines and Marjorie Chen. Ryan is a theater artist in Toronto. He's Toronto-based. And Marjorie Chan is the outgoing artistic director of Cahoots Theater. So it was a pleasure to have them both. And they contributed so much to the conversation. They made my job as moderating super easy. We dived into different things about diversity in theater. Some of the questions were, what are appropriate steps to take when it comes to casting a diverse show or a show where there's characters that come from different backgrounds, and what is the appropriate practices and how when a director looks at a script and they see different characters, what their vision of the characters are based on what's in the script. How do you kind of decipher those two? For that one, I know that Marjorie kind of opened up and said that a lot of the times when it comes to finding a director for your show, it's kind of having those conversations very early on to find if artistically the two parties have the same vision. And it's kind of one of those things where if you find that you have a director who you've looked at their work and you kind of are curious about working with them, you kind of bring them in, sit them down, and have a conversation of, this character is a Latinx character, for an example. Do you stay accurate to that or no? And if they're like, nah, we can kind of cast whatever. If they look it, that's fine. It's like, nope, we actually want to stay authentic to what that character is and what it's written in the script. So maybe we're not a great fit. And it's things like that. We dove into so many different topics. There was also
just to go back to that one, what's in the script and what. See, I would be that if in this case she wouldn't have hired me as a director because I'm so open that I don't care.
Right.
Which, funny enough, I'm so not noticing of any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It almost comes across as racist because I'm not caring and I will hire anybody because I directed last year Peter and the Starcatcher.
Right.
It's set in the 1800s and you got these English orphans. Mm-hmm. And who did I cast as the lead Peter? A young black Jamaican man.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know going in that I would do that. So as a director, I go in and say, I don't care.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
which is good and bad, I
Yeah,
guess. So,
and I feel it definitely depends on the piece of theater that you're working with. Something like Peter and the Starcatcher, I can definitely see that there's a bit of fluidity in the way that you would cast it. Something like Hairspray, for an example. You know, I actually, one of my friends, who's actually a work study here, Shannon, shout out to Shannon, she was telling me about a theater in, I believe, Niagara, that they casted Hairspray with basically an all-white cast, including the people of color, like Seaweed, Little Inez, Motormouth, it was ridiculous. And it's like, these things happen, but that is an example of an extreme problem.
I can top that. I just read the article literally a couple of days ago. A company in Hungary put on a all-white show of Porgy and Bess.
Oh my God.
That's right. Porgy and Bess, all-white Hungarians.
Who are these people?
I don't know. But the worst thing is, because it's written in the contract through the Porgy and Bess Foundation, that it has to be a black cast, right? Which, let's be honest, makes sense.
Yeah.
All the actors, and I can't believe this, signed a thing saying that I'm recognizing myself as African descent or something like that. No, I wish I was shitting you, but I'm not. Though, this may be controversial. If you want to get really technical, we can all go back to being African because we're all from, if we want to go back 60, 70,000 years, sure.
Right, exactly. It's a little bit of a round way to look at it.
But let's be honest, white Hungarians, Porgy and Bess.
Yeah, not quite.
No. So in this case, terrible idea.
Right.
But, oh man, yeah.
Yeah. So it was to the panel that we had. It was really good, and I don't know, it was just like they both contributed a lot to the conversation. We even talked about what I guess accessibility when it comes to being able to go and see theater, because one of the questions was that actually Ryan, he had mentioned how he had gone to a few schools to do a similar kind of panel discussion type of thing, specifically theater schools in the GTA, and he looked in the audience, and Ryan is I think he's Dominican and black, but I forget exactly. Okay. Don't quote me on that. But he is a man of color.
Okay.
And he said that he went in and looked in the audience, and majority of the students were white and non-colored, students. So he found it interesting that, in post-secondary institutions, specifically studying theater, like, why isn't there more of diversity when it comes to just studying theater? And one of the things that we kind of dove into was the fact that I know even for me, when I thought of Toronto theater within the GTA, I thought of Shaw Festival and Stratford. And that was pretty much all I knew. And then Mirvish in there as well. Mm-hmm. But there are so many theater companies in Toronto that I've, since being in post-secondary, have learned existed, like Cahoots and like Tarragon and Factory and Obsidian, So I didn't know about any of those until I came and I was actually studying theater. So the question was kind of, why is it that there isn't more people of color interested maybe in theater? And it's just because what we kind of came to was not everyone can access theater, because when it comes down to it, a lot of the times the prices of things like tickets is ridiculous, and for students, it's not necessarily reasonable. Now there are sources like HipTix that are available for to get cheaper tickets for students, but it's kind of that thing of how much how are we able to allow everybody to access these tickets, to love find a love for theater and then to study it.
You know what? Let's listen to some music, and we'll come back to this because it's really interesting, and we're engaged in this. This is awesome. So let's listen to a few songs because people want to listen to music, and it's fun. Anything in particular from your list you want to listen to, Danny?
Ooh, let's take a look at.
He doesn't have the list in front of him.
I know. I'm trying to remember what I put on there. I think there was one from The Color Purple on there.
There is something from The Color Purple. Okay. Very good guess. So we're going to listen to I'm Here.
I'm Here.
From The Color Purple. Did you see that? Oh,
I haven't seen it.
I saw it I don't know, many, many years ago. Back when it was a classic.
When it was, yes.
Because it's so classic. Yes. But, all right, so let's listen to The Color Purple here on Be Our Guest on Musical Theater Radio. You are listening to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. It's a fantastic Saturday. I am sitting here with Danny Sylvan. Hi, Danny.
Hello.
So before we went and listened to some music, we were talking about diversity in theater and things like that. And we stopped at accessibility and why more people of color and basically non-whites, why they don't go to the theater. So I have something I want to say, but I want to hear more about more of what you heard, or even as a black man. Do you find there is going to theater, or you find your community doesn't go, or and things like that?
Right. I know for me, more when I was younger, having access to tickets and being able to actually afford to see shows was difficult. Now, thankfully, York University's theater program does have a system where they basically get comp tickets from a lot of the major shows, like Mirvish's shows, or even like Factory Theater, Tarragon, things like that. We get comp tickets to see them. So that's honestly how I've gotten to see a lot of the theater that I've seen in the last few years, with the help, like I mentioned, of a program like HipTix, where you can get tickets for like $5 if you're a student. But I know that if those weren't accessible for me, if those weren't available to me, I probably wouldn't be able to necessarily go and see theater, because and the interest would possibly die down in seeing theater, just because I'm like, it's always going to be expensive, going to see a Mirvish show, like hundreds of dollars sometimes you're spending, depending on where you want to sit. And I would have just kind of been like, you know what, forget this. Like, I'll catch it online, But I know, like, a lot of people that I talk to, like within the Black community, who have an interest in theater, feel the same way. They feel that, having access to being able to see it can be a little problematic sometimes.
Now, is that, I'm just throwing stuff out. Is that a ethnicity thing, or is that an economic thing? Because I had the same problem when I was, now I still have no money.
Right.
So
I would say it's a bit of both. Like, I know that even within the arts, I find that, I can only speak from my experience, but it takes an adjustment for like a lot of my family and the peers around me who are of color to kind of have an appreciation for the arts. That's definitely another thing as well. You might want your child to go into something that, we all hear it is going to be a little more promising as far as jobs post, when you graduate and things like that. You're not always promised a paycheck when it comes to the arts. We've all heard those talks. So it's definitely also having an appreciation for what's being put out there. And there's a lot of great theater that's being produced where I'm finding, especially in Toronto now, I'm being able to see more of myself on stage, if that makes any sense. I'm able to see stories that I can relate to, even stories that, I just went to see Obsidian Theater partnered with Nightwood Theater's production of Schoolgirls, or the African Mean Girls play. And that was amazing. It was a really, really good production. They were talking about shadeism within the Black community and a lot of different other things. And it was nice. So I feel like, and it's like, a lot of people of color would be able to relate to something like that if they had an appreciation for the arts and actually took the chance to go out and watch something like that.
The funny thing is, my girlfriend and I have this discussion quite a bit about things. My girlfriend is Indian, so she's brown,
Right.
so she's obviously not white either.
Right.
And we're talking, and she's a teacher, and the same type of thing is why they're always discussing how do we get more people into the, people of color, people not white, etc., into the teaching, and same thing about theater, right? Trying to get people in,
Right.
and we always come back to the same thing. She brings it up that it's the culture as well.
Right.
When she wanted to be a teacher, her culture is like, be a lawyer, be in science, be in
Right,
whatever.
right.
Now, do you find that's an issue also in your community, that theater and in general is not pushed towards because it's just a thing that's in the culture where, that's not the way we're going to go, not the
Right.
direction we want.
Right. I know for me, it's one of those things where I definitely want, like, your parents or those your elders, your guardians, those around you, want you to do to have success in whatever career that you're going towards. And it definitely is a little discouraging when, there's things when they say things like, have a backup plan or have something on the side because you never know. And like, now that I'm older, I can appreciate that a little bit because, it is definitely hard. But at the earlier stages, it's difficult when you hear that. So I do think it's a bit of an issue when it comes to kind of the appreciation for the arts and having that and knowing that there is a future in it. Like, there can be, if you put yourself out there and put your mind to it, like, there can be a future in it.
Yep.
But it's definitely, it is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, there's so many
Yeah.
there's so many facets that have to be looked at, that it's not just, you're being held out. You're being held out.
Right.
There's a little bit here and a little bit here, and every little thing
Exactly.
it needs to be balanced out. And sometimes I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm on the radio, so you don't know what color I am. Yeah, because you can't tell. But yeah, the thing is, I've never noticed any of that stuff when I go to shows, and maybe it's because of my background,
Right.
that I just don't see it.
Yeah.
And so, oh well, what are you gonna do?
Exactly,
Well, I'm gonna have
yeah.
a quick question. Just gonna throw that at you. Don't have to answer. Well, you can answer it if you want to. It's radio. You should.
No.
Yeah, we'll just sit here in silence. Thanks, Danny. So, Hamilton, very diverse,
Yes.
very everything. I want to know how you would react the first time Hamilton, it's been out for a while. We're talking 10 years, 5 years from now. Hamilton is played by a white guy. How would you react? We're not talking, okay, we'll talk not professional first, high school or college, and then we'll
Okay.
talk professional. So
Okay.
if it was a high school production.
If it was a high school production, I would just have to conclude that the artistic minds behind that project are very ignorant. I would just have to come to that conclusion and go on with my day because that would be ridiculous. And I would have a problem with it. Now, I wouldn't be as steamed with that because, again, it's a high school, it's a smaller scale musical. I'm not gonna like protest the high school. It would be a shame,
Okay.
for
Professional.
Professional, that's going to be a problem for me. That's going to be a real problem, only because, this show opened with someone of color playing Hamilton. So why would you want to change that? I wouldn't understand why a tradition like that would have to be changed. It's not like there's not more like black actors or actors of color to play it. Like, it's not like there's just no more left. We've run out of them, so we'll cast the white guy. Like, no. So that I would have a bit of a problem with. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to any of this because all theoretical anyways.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
in 100 years, maybe nobody cares. Maybe
Very true.
maybe all robots are doing it anyways. And
you know what?
and at
Also
that
true.
point, do we become the minority, just the human race? And the robots care, actually?
This went down a really dark
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I'm
Skynet
scared.
and the Terminator. Though the Terminator putting on musicals would be... Terminator musical, that's going to happen.
It's, oh my, how has it not been written yet?
I don't know. Everything else in the movies have been written.
It has, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Okay, on that note, let's throw
Terminator
just
musical.
Terminator the musical. What the hell? All right, you know what? Let's listen to some music. This is Be Our Guest. We were talking with Danny here on a Saturday afternoon. Let's listen to some more music on Musical Theater Radio. We are back here on Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. We are sitting here with Danny Sylvan. Hi, Danny.
Hello.
So we're going to lighten it up a little bit. We talked about the
Yes.
diversity and all that stuff. We got heavy and we
heavy.
we got murderous robots
Yes,
when we were talking.
Terminator the musical.
Oh,
It's
man.
just-
So let's lighten it up.
Yeah.
Let's have a little fun. So what is your bucket list of shows? Is there a list of shows or characters or parts that you'd want to be in or play or shows you just want to see that you haven't been able to see yet?
Okay. As far as a role that I would want to play, I know that from like when I saw the movie for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, like this role. And it's such a random role too. Like where it's like really out of all the male like roles you could play in this, that's the one you want to play. But in Dreamgirls, I'd want to play CC White, which
Okay.
is Effie White's brother. And I don't know. I feel like the character has a lot of heart. He's stern when he needs to be, and I feel like I'd be able to portray him well. And yeah, like when I look at other characters in that musical, like I'm not playing Jimmy Early. Like I'm not playing Jimmy. I am not playing Curtis. You know, like Cece though. I could play Cece.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as musicals that I would love to see that I just haven't seen yet, definitely Hamilton. You know.
Have you got your
whenever-
tickets? It's coming to Toronto.
I know. I might have to do the lottery because,
Oh.
like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how ridiculous the prices are first.
Oh, it's going to be... Luckily, I got a subscription. I've
Nice.
had a
See-
subscription the last few years.
That's the route I should have gone.
Yep.
I should have gotten a subscription because then I wouldn't have to worry.
No, and then you can see this year's Dear Evan Hansen and Waitress and all these other...
All of these ones.
And then-
Yeah.
Danny.
I messed up. But yeah, something like Hamilton. Geez, what else? Thankfully, a lot of the ones that I've wanted to see, I've gotten to see.
Like what?
Well, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I went and saw that in New York in 2011, I believe.
Was that Matthew Broderick? Or is that
No,
Daniel Radcliffe?
It was Daniel Radcliffe.
okay.
Yeah. And he was really, really good in it. He was like a lot of fun in the character. And I don't know. It was a really good musical to see. What else have I seen? I saw, in the hot seat. Like, trying to remember, it's funny, like everything blanks as soon as
I know.
I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Even like Come From Away. Oh my gosh. That for the longest time, as soon as it kind of got in Toronto, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, you have to see this, you have to see it. And I was like, I don't understand the hype, like I don't really know, but like let me see. I love it.
Yes.
I
Oh.
absolutely love it. I've seen it twice, and I'd probably go see it again because it has, again, another musical that has so much heart and such a powerful story behind it.
It's funny that you mention Hamilton and Come From Away in the same breath, because I've had this discussion with people how those two are so quintessentially of the countries they are created in.
Yes.
Like, could Hamilton be more American? Not just the characters, but big and brash and we are here. And then Come From Away is just this little hi.
Right.
We're awesome, but I'm not going to tell anybody about it.
It is so true. It's so true. Like, they are extremely authentic to the countries. Wow, I've never thought of that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
But
Yeah, Come From Away was it was a good show, and it's fun. Like, despite its heavy content, it's really, really fun. Yeah.
See, I'd love to see that show in New York or London or somewhere not in Toronto, somewhere not in Canada, just to see the audience reaction to the jokes. Because what does Tim Hortons mean to a Londoner?
Right.
What does Shoppers mean to anybody in New York? It's
Did you come with us at VCP?
I was the one who asked that question.
You were there. Yeah, because you were at the after discussion. Yes, you were there because at the restaurant I sat with you. Yeah, okay, I remember. Yeah, with the discussion afterwards, I know one of the actors was saying that with the New York production of it, the audience seems to be a lot more somber actually when it comes to a lot of the content, and of course, like, it's right in the heart of New York, so like that makes sense. But yeah, somewhere like London, like I don't even know, like all of our little references, like you said, Tim Hortons and Shoppers. I have no idea how they would perceive
being
that.
on Twitter, I've been reading just all the people who go see it, and everybody, it's to a person, they just loved it and thought it's fantastic. They just won 4 Olivier Awards over.
Wow.
For people who don't know, that is the British Tonys or the British Doras if you're in Toronto, or I don't know, whatever. It's their big award. Yeah. Right? So, but the London audiences have been just eating it up and loving it. But I'd love to see what jokes hit and what don't.
What just completely missed.
There's universal stuff, right? Universal is universal comedy, but I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see for sure.
Anything else you'd want to see or need to see, or in the past, like something that, even 40 years ago, you went, oh, I wish I had seen this person in this, or even 20 years ago, the classics.
You know what? I do want to see, I want to see Christian Boyle in something.
Okay,
anything. Just because I love him. I discovered him not even on Broadway or through like a musical. I discovered him through a show that he did, Smash.
I love that TV show.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
JP, you just got like a few levels up on my favorite list.
It was so good.
It was such a good series. I mean, season 1 was amazing. Season 2...
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That one song that Jordan sings, the Broadway one.
Yes.
That one... So good.
So good.
Unfortunately, people out there, I only play stage musicals. So I apologize that I won't be playing anything from that. But if it becomes on stage, I'll be playing those songs.
You'll be playing, yeah. Smash was amazing, and Christian was amazing in it. I really, really liked his character. And then, I would love to see him in something, like anything, because he's a lot of fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, because you mentioned Dreamgirls, let's play something from Dreamgirls.
Let's do it.
All right. You are listening to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. We are sitting here with Danny Sylvan. We are going to listen to something from Dreamgirls. You have tuned in to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. We are getting near the end, but we're not quite there yet. We still have lots of time to talk with our guest, Danny.
Yes.
It's Danny.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for coming out again. I'm glad you agreed to talk to me today.
Of course. I mean, any other day I'd be like, talk to JP. I don't know. But today, yeah.
Oh, thanks, Danny. So benevolent. So you are graduating from York University, a theater program, right?
That's right.
Theater degree in...
So it's theater and performance, and it would be in playwriting and dramaturgy, but it's a BA.
Okay, nice. So you'll be like every other theater person, and you'll just throw that in the garbage.
Yep.
And I know.
Yeah, essentially useless.
I know. Schooling is like, for theater, is like, I have a diploma from Sheridan College. I have a degree from York, and I'm... Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, that's like...
I know that's an inspiration to you, right?
I know, it's so inspiring. You know, I feel so uplifted right now.
Your future is all ahead of you.
Yes. Yeah, definitely like post-secondary for theater it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's definitely a choice. Yeah.
So what are you going to do with now that you are weeks away from having everything done, going out in the real world? What's the plan?
So the plan is to just basically see what theater opportunities there are out there in Toronto. And specifically theater. Unfortunately, not musical theater. I mean, if that door opens, that's fine.
Works work.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I would want to see, you know, like I definitely want to look into Obsidian Theater in Toronto. They have a playwrights unit. So I'd want to kind of look into that and see what the application process is like and apply to that, because that's, although I did 2 years focused on playwriting and new play dramaturgy, I do want to expand that a little more and go a little further into what my creative obsession is when it comes to theater making and theater writing. So I'd want to look into that. I'd also want to see, you know, what theater companies are hiring for acting positions, as well as anything with young directors. That would be amazing, because that's something that I want to venture into as well.
Very cool. Well, and don't forget, you are our company manager here at
right.
York University's Vanier College Production. So you have more than just on stage and off stage. You have you know, well-rounded man.
Yeah, that was that. Thank you. That was that was an interesting experience, you know, being company manager, because a lot of it was admin, but within theater. So it's like there were very interesting things that I was doing, but it was such a great learning experience, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So that's definitely an avenue that, if the opportunity presented itself, I would venture. You know?
Between you and me and everybody who's listening, there's a huge difference between dealing with actors and dealing with admin people, isn't there?
Right.
It's like less drama, maybe.
Right. I would say so. I would definitely agree.
Okay, I am sorry, actors, but I would rather hang out with the admin and the tech people, because, oh my goodness, they're less work.
They're so chill. They're so chill.
I don't mind, you know, coming into the meetings with you guys and just sitting and you know, we can talk. There is no drama.
Nope.
Like, there's no, like, oh, I'm on stage and love me. Actors drive me crazy. Sorry, actors. You do. You drive me nuts.
Drag. Yes.
But I need you. I need you. We need you.
Also, we need you. So.
So, what would be your ultimate position somewhere to do what? If you had that. Anything goes, one wish, the genie came out from Aladdin, Will Smith in the movie.
Oh, God.
Again, we'll get into that maybe another day, but when the movie comes out, maybe you'll come back and talk about that.
Maybe.
But if Will Smith comes out and offers you any part, any piece, anything you could do in theater.
I think at least for now, that would be being an in-house playwright. That would be a lot of fun. I think, you know, kind of having that experience, at least right now. The ultimate goal is like the crazy, you know, like out of this world goal, would obviously be to have steady work on like a television series, or to be a little more engulfed into the TV and like the film industry as far as being on screen. That's like the ultimate goal. But, you know, for now, I would definitely want to see more what theater has to offer, because that's truly where my love ignited in the arts. It's theater first. TV and film, I've like barely dipped my toes into. So although that's definitely a goal much later, right now my focus is theater.
Very cool. So when we see the theater full of people watching Danny's shows, Danny's plays he's written, I will let everybody know. I know they might not be musicals, but I'll still let people know about them.
Yes, please come and support my non-existent show.
Exactly. I think he's writing Terminator the musical.
You know what? I think you've heard it here first, folks. You've heard it here first.
That would be awesome if you did that. I will so be involved. If you need a director, I am there.
I'm calling you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so let's listen to another song from Danny's list. Danny, do you have a choice that you want, or should I just grab one from your list?
We talked about Come From Away. Do we want to do one from there?
Of course we do. We always want to do Come From Away. All right, so we're gonna listen to 38 Planes, Somewhere in the Middle of Nowhere from Come From Away. You are listening to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio, and it's a great Saturday. And I can't believe it's already been 3 hours, Danny. We've been sitting here for 3 hours.
That's crazy.
Talking. So I want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, giving your words of wisdom, learning a little bit about you, imparting your knowledge of theater and musicals and everything like that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a very fun 3 hours, and I loved it. It's been great chatting with you.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. But you can't leave yet because I have the standard 5 questions that I ask everybody.
Okay.
There are no right and wrong answers except for the wrong ones.
Oh, God.
So
okay.
I will not judge you. Yeah, I will.
You will.
I totally will judge you.
No, you will.
Yes, I will. All right. So, first question. Just right off the top of your head, answer whatever I say. All right. First question. Sondheim or Weber?
Weber.
Weber? Why?
Because
he's classic?
Because he's classic. I know more of Weber's musicals.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I didn't say there was a right or wrong answer. This one.
Was it wrong?
No, it's more of just an opinion.
Okay.
They're so different that it's like one sings about murderous barbers, the other one has a singing feline.
Right.
Yeah,
so very different.
Different. So I can't say right or wrong, but maybe wrong.
Wow.
Your favorite show you've ever seen?
You know what? How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I really, really enjoyed it.
Really?
I think a part of it was so unexpected. I went in there kind of blindly watching it. Like, I didn't know what the story was. I had no idea, like, what the songs were. And I walked out and I was like, that was beautiful. Like, that was so good. It was really entertaining. The songs definitely stick with you. That's probably one of my more favorite ones.
Cool. Wrong again.
Well, what's yours, JP? Let's throw this back to you.
Okay, no problem. I love Come From Away. I have to admit that. Yeah. As soon as I saw that, my girlfriend got me tickets from my parents and I, and I've seen so many shows, and I will clap at the end because there's clapping, courtesy, but I will not stand up. I don't. A standing ovation is for me, it is so good that I will get off my seat. Come From Away, I did.
Wow.
It touched me so much, and the music and everything was so good that when I told her that, she was like, oh, because she knew I don't do that.
You stood up.
Yeah, I stood up. I gave it a standing ovation. It was so good. So for me, it was that, and I have lots of other shows that I love. And
it's hard to choose one. It really is.
Like, do you love the show itself, or do you love the soundtrack? Right? Because we had talked about it off air.
Yeah.
I love Spring Awakening, the soundtrack, but I got bored with the show.
Yeah.
I saw a show, Five Guys Named Mo. I don't know if you might not know it.
I don't know that one.
It's Louis Jordan music, and it's so fun in audience participation. And I hate audience participation, but it was so good. It was so fun. Yeah. So,
Yeah, there's definitely, whether it's the soundtrack you like or the actual production, they're two different things in some cases. So
exactly. All right. Yeah. So, next question.
Yeah.
Jukebox musical, good or bad?
Bad? I don't even think I have an opinion. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Again, this one's kind of
right.
Both is my opinion.
Exactly.
Depending on what the show is.
Right, exactly.
So,
like, yeah, like it depends.
All right. Musicals from movies, good idea or lazy?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Oh, that's so hard. You know what? It could be interesting. It just depends on the show. it could be interesting. I think they're all going to be interesting in some way, but also pretty lazy for others. Like
the Terminator musical?
Like the Terminator musical, the masterpiece we're about to put together. Yeah.
So in that case, very good.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good
exactly.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question. Final question. This is by far the most important question. Everybody's got it right so far, I think. So you want to get it right as well.
I'm sweating. Okay.
You better be. This is important. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Food in the theater, yes or no?
No.
Correct. That was close. I saw you. Your face was like...
saw the hesitation. I was like, I had to think about it for a second. But no. It's rude and disruptive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about if you're throwing tomatoes at the audience? I mean, at the stage. Like they did in Shakespeare.
This is an exception.
Okay. So,
yeah.
And food in the audience is okay.
Right.
Good answer.
Yes.
Very good answer. All right. Thank you, Danny, once again for putting up with all my insane questions. Joining me today, talking a little bit. Would you be willing to come back another day?
100%.
Awesome.
So much fun.
In the future, we'll bring Danny back after he's made it in the business.
Yes.
When he's big and famous.
When I have the script ready for Terminal the Musical.
Nice.
I will be back.
All right. Well, we're leaving one more song before the end of the show. Danny, what song would you like to hear to end the show?
This is one from, as I mentioned earlier, your favorite musical, Rent. That was sarcasm. And it is Seasons of Love. And I chose it because I did, like I mentioned, I did this musical. And it was a lot of fun. And I thought this would be a nice little bow to tie at the end of this.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Danny, so much for coming out. You have been listening to Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. We're going to end our show with Rent's Seasons of Love. Please come back next week when we have a whole new guest or guests come on and co-host the show Be Our Guest. Once again, this is Rent and Seasons of Love.